Hello again, everybody. Update since last time we talked. I still had not gotten the motor positioned exactly where I wanted it or the front brake lines in. Well, finally got the front brake lines in. You see this fitting here. It has tubing that comes down here and runs inside the frame. And if you look around here, you see this fitting. This fitting is actually connected to the front two brake lines, and I run the thing through the frame rail on this, and you can see it's got a plastic sheath on it, so there's no need for worrying about damage or chafing or any of that. The other thing is, once I got the brake lines in, I realized that the motor wasn't exactly where I needed it. There's a space right here between the front cross member and the oil pan, and I had lowered the motor about 4 inches and slid it back about 4 inches. Unfortunately, this space right here didn't give me enough room to actually remove the oil pan here without removing the entire engine. So I picked it up, got clearance for that. Now you can work on it, which is a big part of what I do whenever I build one of these. I try to make them where people can work on them when I'm done, because there's so many hot rods out there. Something as simple as doing an oil pan gasket, you got to pull the whole motor to get to it. I ain't down with that. That's not good. One of the issues that it did cause was this. If you walk around here, I'll show you. The exhaust system right here where this window is, and we talked about the windows last time, the access panels for these fittings. This window is right here by the exhaust. I have another one on the other side. It's the same way, so this will not be the clear polycarbonate window. This will actually be a steel plate in here. I figure that's a lot simpler than building a heat shield for this. So that problem solved, and now we can go back and take a look at the rear end. I finally got this cradle installed in the hole. Built these forward mounts here, built these rear mounts here. I figure it takes just as much time to do something cool as it does to do something crude. So I added a little bit of style to these mounts. Everything on the vehicle has got rounded curves on it. I didn't want to just hack up square plate and stick it in the hole. Most people will do it that way. I don't like that. There's no sense of adventure in that. So now these need perches. Spring perch goes on top, basically a cup that gets built for this. These springs go down in the hole, and up underneath here is where this metal cup will be that this will ride in. The spring will have to be compressed an inch to get into the cup, so I've got to build the cup, get the cup on here, compress the spring an inch, and then I can figure out what kind of gusseting I need to do. And these are gussets right here. They're basically brace pieces that hold something in place and give it added strength. Once I get these in here, I can actually get the rear end back down on the ground, and I can build the shock mounts that will go here on the frame rails and get them done. Of course, everything that I do here is by hand. I consider myself a craftsman and an artist. A craftsman is proficient with tools. Artistry is what you do with them. So everything that I'm doing on this is done by hand. It's completely hand fabricated. And I've got a ring that I have made for the spring perches sitting on the fab table. What I will do with that ring, I heated it up and bent it around a coil spring, old coil spring. As you can see, it's not perfectly round. But what I will do is I'll split this down the middle, and then I can actually work this on the anvil with a hammer and get it to a point where it is actually round. And the top of the spring has a rubber grommet that it fits in. This will fit up in this cup. So this is going to wind up being the spring perches. It's a little crude looking right now. Whenever I cut this in half, I'll have 2 spring perches and a lot less metal to move when I'm working it into a completely round shape. Last time we were working on spring perches and shock mounts. I'd actually built a set of shock mounts, got them all fabbed up. I bolted them to the top of the shock, took the factory bushing mount off, bolted them to the top of the shock, tack welded the things onto the frame rail, and then I found out, lo and behold, if I kept that design, you can't get the shocks out of the truck. So that's a horrible idea, complete failure, didn't work, but went back to the drawing board, got some better things going on. First, I'll show you these spring perches that I built. Built these cups. We were talking about how they weren't, how these rings weren't completely round. Well, they're perfectly round now. Gusseted, strengthened all this, and did it with a little bit of style, which is always good. And the shock mounts actually turned out really, really well. At first, underneath here is the actual stud with the nut on it that holds this lower portion of the shock on there. Well, I was going to remove this piece completely, make a bracket that this bolted to. Well, I had a plate setting up here with these gussets and did away with this piece, and then I began to look at this piece and I realized the hole in here has rubber bushing. Well, this bushing helps the shock absorber do its job properly. I need to keep this bushing and this piece attached to all of this because bushings wear out. And if a part wears out, eventually it's going to need to be replaced. One of the themes of this whole entire build is to make sure that I make this a serviceable vehicle. I don't want to build something that you can't work on, or you've got to take all kinds of stuff apart to get to things. So went back to the factory setup, redesigned my mounts. I think they turned out pretty good. It was a little bit tricky, but hey, sometimes it is. So that's where I'm at the moment. Next update, whenever I get some stuff done. Go build something cool.